Hi, Bobby here, and today we have a new episode in the not episode, but a new video for the YouTube channel. It's been a while since I've posted a video, so apologies. So this is pretty much my second video for 2022. I did make a promise, not a promise, but I did aim to make like one video each day or every day for 2022. But I pretty much failed because reasons, and maybe it's because of the whole perfectionism thing. I mean, I want to pretty much get it right as much as I can, but shit, there's something wrong with my display here anyway. So I had a point. Um, I did say I was going to do like daily artworks where I record my sketching sessions, but maybe that's not the right approach for me, because I'm still trying to figure out my style. Like I'm pretty good at copying things, but I don't have my own artistic voice. And maybe you have the same troubles as me. Ergo Josh is a big YouTube artist guy, personality, famous person, and he kind of has the same struggles, although he's definitely way more ahead than me or you. But it's just something that's it's something you have to figure out eventually, because if you don't have your own unique voice, it's so hard to be able to you need to be able to set yourself apart from pretty much everyone, you know and because if you're not unique in any way, if you don't have a specific niche, look or just approach to your work, you're not going to stand out, and that's definitely going to decrease your popularity, your reach in terms of viewership, audience. If you're trying to sell something, sales, obviously. And I feel like I need to go back on or with or continue essentially the art review kind of approach where I review people's artworks. But I do want to make a shift. As you can see right now, I do have a bunch of artworks from a specific artist named Loom something. I will link like the name of this artist is going to be in the title. Um, and a lot of these dudes and dudettes are they're usually Japanese, and I do like their styles a lot. They're very varied in that like there's this entire world in Twitter that's basically Japanese or Korean and sometimes Chinese, and it's so like East Asian dominated field or area, and it's so like I've never seen it. I mean, now I have seen it, but it's just so amazing how many artists there are out there. I was before this whole shift, I was pretty much focused on the artists on ArtStation, so it's pretty global. Although they're usually Western, I find they're usually pretty experienced in terms of or in the commercial fields. They work in films, games, and I was very focused on the whole concept art thing. Lots of painting and stuff like that, but I do want to, I guess, make a shift because I feel like it's like this is more of my calling, like anime types of stuff. Like I want to be more raw. I've like the artists I've reviewed almost always have like a complete picture. Like there's the character, the background, and whatever. But maybe that's not me. Maybe I'm more of a kind of like this guy or this chick. Who knows? More of a storyteller, maybe. Like I feel like I should do more sketching. Like that's more of a natural thing for me. And the guy I kind of want to model myself off of mostly, or my biggest inspiration would have to be Kim Jung Gi, and I'm pretty sure you're familiar with this amazing artist. A lot of his work is just from his sketchbook. Like he does have a habit of like his whole thing is filling up an entire page of his rather creative thoughts. And I want to have that kind of same approach. I don't want to just post like an environment painting, a character painting. Like it's so limiting. And I do want to make that shift in my own work. And with that, obviously, I do want to explore more of this area. Lots of characters. When it comes to the proportions, I do like obviously the human aspect of the anime style thing or manga, whatever. But I do like the faces. They're very, very pretty and they're very adaptable. Um, and pretty simplified. Like for example, the nose is pretty simple, and I just like the looks of it. And even with this anime type of style, there's so much variation. Like you can tell it's kind of it has an anime kind of look, but each artist has his or her own approach to say drawing the face. But for the bodies, they're pretty much very very similar. A bit of exaggeration here and there, but they do get creative with the face, with the expressions, and obviously the hair. And that's just something I want to explore more in my work. So you're going to see the shift from very concept art focused work from ArtStation to very kawaii anime hentai types of artwork. And unfortunately, there are a lot of artworks that are kind of not safe for work on Twitter that I do follow, but I obviously can't review them on YouTube because it's not. I'm going to get banned and flagged. So it's kind of sad. So maybe I can post it somewhere in some kind of feed, or maybe retweet it somewhere on Twitter. Or maybe I can post like just the name of it or the username tag, whatever. So anyway, for this artist that I'm going to explore, um, the username is like Loom something. I'll just link it again in the title of this video. Anyway, I think I've been talking too much because obviously I do want to apologize for my lack of content, and I want to get back to the daily videos. And yes, I'm not going to be able to draw every day. Recording that thing at least, or I won't be able to record myself making art. I guess what? Fuck it. I feel like I'm pressuring myself too much to do a certain thing, and fuck it. I'd rather just go balls deep and just go raw. You know what I mean? Anyway, I've always been averse to drawing um line art because it's always not always, but it seems rather what's the word? Pressuring. It's intense and it feels like I need to be perfect. Even if I've seen artists like start sketches with like a pencil sketch with a very rough layout and then eventually build that drawing up to a more refined sketch or lined drawing, it still feels pretty unnatural. But whenever I see people like this or artists like this, if you kind of zoom in on their work, if you look at the line work, I mean, fuck me, it's not even that clean, right? And I think that's one thing that kind of attracted me to this kind of style, to this specific style is the line work is not even that clean. It's pretty. I don't think this is the first like rough. Maybe there was a very rough, and then this is the more um acceptable kind of line work where if you zoom in, you can technically see the imperfections, but it's well done. Maybe well done is a bit too strong of a word. It's just right, and it has a very gestural type of thing to it. So it kind of reminds me of the work of this artist. I believe is a Italian or Spanish artist. He's like a Southern European person named uh, shit shit. I'm forgetting his name. He has a very gestural way of doing comics. He's not like the typical comic book artist where they're very tight with the anatomy. He's more gestural. Oh my god. Let me just I have failed. I have failed this whole thing. Let me just find him. Apologies. I'm just going to sift through my folders here and find his actual name. Um and you can see in his line work is very loose and gestural. He's not very tight. And even the way he colors, it's very simple and vibrant. Why am I like this? Give me a second. Uh You know what? Fuck it. I can't remember. I have so many folders here of different artists. It's fuck. But maybe I'll just link it somewhere after this recording. Anyway, and yeah, if you look at the line work, it's not even that finished. But if you kind of zoom out, it makes sense. Like it feels complete. And yes, it does. It's kind of compensated by the flats of the image, the flat colors, plus the a lot of these artists tend to add a bit of a soft gradient after the flats, just a very simple one, and then they'll do the shadow bit. Um, and they have almost like a gouache like approach. Not a lot of texture. A lot of these like anime types of styles, they don't have a lot of texture in their work. They're very simple. They like to keep their tools rather simple. They're kind of straight to the point, which I do like. They're very efficient in that regard, and maybe that's why they're very productive, or they're able to be. They can produce more artworks in less time. I've found that. Even if they have varying styles, they tend to keep their tool sets pretty simple, and that's kind of hard for me to accept because I'm very into the whole brush variety. I do like to diversify my brush strokes, and maybe that goes hand in hand with my lean with impressionistic art. I like seeing a lot of brushstrokes, but you can go simple. You can be impressionistic with a simple round brush. Now, obviously, for this guy or girl, whoever this person artist is, not a lot of it's not his it's not a painting style. It's more of a traditional, not traditional, but a standard line work. Not a very clean line work, but enough line work plus some standard flats. Let me zoom out here. Standard flats, and then eventually, um, a simple gradient perhaps. You can see it in the hair here. It kind of gets darker, and it's very soft. It's not a very strong gradient, and then some shadows. And again, look at the amount of texture here. It's pretty much non-existent. And again, focus on the simplicity of the tools. Round brush. Um, and a lot of these artworks are not even like mixed, or they don't employ the blending tool in Clip Studio Paint. I'm guessing this was done in Clip Studio Paint. Even the way these roses were done, or these flowers, very, very gestural, very sketchy, but it's so right. If you kind of zoom out, it just makes sense. Even the belly button looks nice. Oof. Um, if you zoom out, a lot of the artworks are kind of within a blank canvas. It's rarely done kind of in a cover mode where you have a background and stuff like that. But it's so interesting seeing this kind of artwork. And aside from the simplistic line work or the not so clean gestural line work, the way the hair is employed to help with the composition. I mean, look at how creative this thing is. I don't think they're planning to do this. Like these artists, I think it's almost like intuitive at this point. But it looks so natural, like the way it kind of waves around. Like this chick is kind of like flying, but this one, she's kind. I'm assuming it's a she. Um, she's kind of laid down or laid back, chilling, and the hair kind of reflects that. It's kind of laid down as well. It's not flying or anything. Um, and that's pretty cool. You can be very, very creative with the hair, and maybe that helps compensate for the simplicity of the style, I think. But even within like the silhouette of the hair, there's so many like varying strands, and it's pretty all over the place. It's pretty intimidating. And I've seen other anime types of artists or manga artists go extreme with it, and to the point where I'm like, fuck it. It's impossible to catch up. But I mean, look at this. No texture. The line work is not even that clean. It's just right. It's enough. It doesn't always have to hit the next line. There's almost always an overlapping, not mistake, but it's just very gestural and very raw in a way. It's almost like a refined sketch, I think. Um, and I also like seeing artworks like this where um I have no idea what these mean, or what this means, because I can't read Japanese or whatever. But I like seeing artworks like this where it's very. I keep saying very. It's shit. What's wrong with my mouse? Oh my god! Why is my? Sorry about. Sorry about that. There was a bit of a glitch. By the way, I'm using PureRef to. I basically downloaded all of these images from this specific artist, and then I punched it, not punched it. I dragged it or imported it to PureRef. PureRef is a free program. I used to not like it. I thought it was kind of like a gimmicky kind of thing, but I fell in love with it. It's a very cool program. It's a great way to really. You could do this in Clip Studio Paint or Photoshop, but it just lags the whole program. It's much faster to do it in PureRef. Oh, and by the way, you can see this kind of thing on the side. It's a program called Epic Pen. It's also free. You can get a paid version where you have more tools, but if you kind of click this button here, the pen, you can make like notes and stuff like that. Pretty cool. Um anyway, back to reality. Um yeah, I like seeing stuff like this where there's a lot of storytelling. Now, I'm not into the whole comic manga thing. I don't like reading with pictures. I just like pictures or reading, mixing both. If it's very short, sure, but if it's like a bunch of pages, I tend to not do it. But I like seeing this, the expressions and stuff. Um, they're very relatable, and I feel like you can get a bigger audience if you can do um look at how this whole scene is even more simplified in terms of it's not exactly in this kind of level, right? However, I think like scenes like this, even if it's like a chibi or like a baby, it's a very cute kind of version of characters. Um, if you can communicate some kind of story that people can relate to, your drawings or paintings or renderings don't even have to be that impressive for you to get a decent following because people want to follow people that's relatable, and I think stories really can help people feel things. Um, and it doesn't always have to be like this, where it's almost like a full illustration, and it's very tempting. Think of the artist or what's his name, Sam does arts. Most of his work is just it's the same thing pretty much, like a chick doing something. It's sort of like a slice of life kind of approach. It's a full painting. You have the background, you have the character, and he pretty much has the same formula, but each painting has like a simple story, but it gets I like it. It's very memorable in a way, and it's just relatable, but it's also pretty because it's like a full painting. So you can do that, but you can also do stuff like this where it's more of a comic book kind of approach, and obviously it helps if you're pretty good with the whole line work thing. Um, Now this guy or chick is pretty cool with it, so pretty cool. Um, and again, it shows you that you don't have to go for a full rendering when making your illustrations. Again, with the hair here, very very creative. Look at how gestural the line work is. It's not clean. If you've seen any kind of manga page, they're very tight with the drawings or with the blacks or with the inks. Sorry. And it's kind of intimidating. I feel the same way when seeing like Western types of comics. It's very tight, and I don't feel attached to it. So seeing an artist that can pull this kind of look off while still have very I said it again. While still having impactful artworks, I think is very very inspiring. I can look at this. A bit of gradient you can tell, but it's so light. It's very very minimal. The shadows, there's usually one big shadow and then like darker shadows. So there's not a lot of Rendering, where you try to make the thing 3D in a sense. We do have a simple gradient, but that's more of a an atmospheric thing. Um, you can see it a bit in the hair here on the top. It gets kind of lighter in the bottom. Um, but again, it goes to that kind of gouache-like approach where it's very heavy on the shapes. It's almost graphical in nature, but it's not that flat because obviously you have a bit of lighting. So it's kind of like a nice balance of both. It's kind of like in the sweet middle. So again, but it makes sense. Again, and the lines are gonna very gestural. The way the folds are done, very very cool. Now in this case, we do have a background here, a cityscape. She's standing on some kind of ledge, but look at this. The way the lines focus on the lines. If there's something about this artist that kind of really makes the style or their style stand out is the way they do their lines. Very very confident. Even with, I believe her name is Asuka. She's the Ava 2 pilot, I believe, of the Evangelion series. Um, very very simple line work. Most of the colors are flats, simple shadows. Done with a few layers. Look at the feet. That's also another thing I like with the anime kind of realm. They tend to show the feet, which I'm a big fan of. Again, is it clean? The line work? No, but it works. If you zoom out, um, so maybe they have that kind of approach where they don't zoom in as much. Maybe just to kind of fix things, but for the most part, it's kind of meant to be viewed from afar. Even the way the clouds, you can still see a bit of that gestural line work. Very, very interesting. Um, yeah, this will never happen. Lots of romanticization in the anime. I mean, now this one is not exactly romance. It's very, very efficient and straight to the point. Now here you can actually see a bit of what blending. So the leg is starting to look like a cylinder, right? Um, and sometimes they don't just do it with the shadows. I've seen artists blend the edge of lines sometimes. Now you can't see it here. This person doesn't do that, but look at how the ear was done. Is that clean? Look at the eyes. Is that clean? The line work, is that clean? But it looks nice. Oh, and I think there's a bit of a lens correction thing here or RGB shift. It's hard to tell from afar, but it helps, I guess. The rendering is not really a rendering or a full on rendering. It's a bunch of flats with some basic, very, very minimal gradients, and then some playing, I guess, sometimes with the blend tool with some kind of soft brush to kind of just smoothen out the or some of the edges within the drawing. But the drawing itself, the ink work, it's not clean, but it works from afar, right? In the poses, lots of I just like it. Anyway, again, feet, very very interesting. I do like this kind of what is this? Some kind of stocking. It's very attractive. I'm not sure why. I don't like it when the heel is kind of hidden. When it's kind of shaped in this way, if it's kind of like covered all the way, it's kind of boring. But if it's kind of in this position where it's in between the heel and the front part of the foot, it looks so cool, and it makes me feel things. And again, look at the hand. The line work very very gestural. I'm guessing a very very rough sketch was done, and then a more refined, not refined, but an acceptable sketch, which is or line work, which would have to be this version, which you can see with the colors and all. Um, Again, not a lot of texture, very very simple. And I've seen this where they tend to. It's not a clear shadow almost always. There's almost always a mid value in between the light part and the dark part. I'm not sure why. I don't really understand it. I've seen it in plenty of artworks, not just in with this kind of style, but it kind of makes sense in a way. And I do like the eyes. I'm very focused, or I do want to do more anime style stuff or artworks for characters. So the way the eyes are done, it's very, very unique. And now obviously it's not painted because it's pretty much like everything else, you know, with the clothes, with the body. It's not meant to be fully rendered, but it still looks rather pretty. Even the face, very, very minimal. The nose, simple. Um, so yeah, I think I've talked enough about this artist. And if you're interested in your line work, if you want to improve your line work, but you're not exactly the type of person that's very tight with your lines, maybe you're more of a sketchy person. You don't have to be like um very tight with your line works. Basically, you can be like this guy or this chick, whoever this artist is. You can be somewhat gestural and loose with it. Um, and then you can compensate with your flats and with some gradients to really make it more fuller. Because if you just leave it as a line work, black and white, kind of like this, you're going to see more of the imperfections, I think. Now in this case, he did add, or she, whoever, a bit of gray flats. But if there's another piece here where it's pretty much pure black and white, okay, this one. Shit me. It's still rather imperfect, but it's a bit cleaner. You can tell with the eyes and with the hair. It gets more sketchier as you go further down. But if that's the only thing if that's the only thing you can see, the line work, you're going to see more of it. So it makes sense to be a bit more careful when just leaving it as it is. But uh, my suggestion is to add more to it. If you're kind of sketchy like me, be you can be more gestural with your line works or with your line art or sketching lines, and then you can compensate with your flats and shadows or the way you kind of essentially render it, but you're not even fully rendering it. You just have to have enough extra steps to compensate for your sketchiness, and it's going to look great, I think, because this artist was able to pull that off. So I'll link all of the links in the description below. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. So keep drawing, keep painting, keep learning, and stay free.